So as Ken said, we're going to move on to the next session, which will be a panel. We're going to have Joel on the panel. You've already heard from Joel, who's a knowledge transfer advisor. Lorraine Marks, who's head of KTP at Queen's University, will join us as well. If we can get her to put her camera on, thank you. Amanda Fullerton, head of KTP from Ulster University. Again, you'll see her on the screen now. And finally, we've got Dr. Hugh Cormagan, who's CEO of Searden, a company that has utilised KTP. So it'll be good to get some of the feedback from Hugh in terms of the KTP. I'm going to kick off with the first question to Hugh, and just say, Hugh, you have used KTPs in your current company and also previous companies. Why do you keep going back to the programme? What is it about it?
Basically value for money. I mean, if you weigh up the costs involved in the kind of work that we do and the kind of knowledge transfer that's required, if you did that as an external process, you know, consultants, it's less satisfactory, the result, and it's more expensive. This not only provides you a much better long-term result because you bed a lot of that knowledge in the company, you engage with academics who actually, you know, that continues even after the KTP program. So they get an insight into business and they continue to provide insights and opportunities for further knowledge transfer down the line beyond the program, which is invaluable. And you have that skills embedded in the company at a very effective price, which is supported by the government, which is a great asset and good value. So I would recommend it to everybody.
Okay, that's great, thank you. And Lorraine and Amanda, now we heard about the criteria that's used to judge the projects, but on your views, what makes a good KTP project?
Oh. Amanda, do you want to go first?
Something that's transformative for the company, with exciting new ways of addressing a business problem or a business opportunity. And the commitment of the business for me is extremely important from the outset. You know, somebody that fully understands the strategic value of a KTP in the long term. Those for me would be, once you have a company on board and is really excited by the program and what it can do for them, I feel that's half of the battle.
Okay. Well, what I think is the most exciting bit about KTP is seeing the relationships develop between the companies and the academic partners, and then that journey that the graduate goes on to, you know, they start off relatively inexperienced and then they become a really key member of the company team. So it all comes together as a really nice package, but you know, you get out of it what you put into it, and the companies and the academics that bond the closest really do get a lot of benefit from it all.
Okay. And Joel, in terms of the KTP project, I mean, how do you keep it on track for the duration of the project?
Some projects work very well because, you know, the companies are used to working with academic teams and managing that kind of project, and that's great. But we have a kind of a set structure that we run for projects, where after the project's awarded us funding, we have a launch meeting to try and talk everyone through what the expectations are around what the project will, you know, how it'll work essentially, and what everyone's role will be. And then we have a meeting roughly every 3 or 4 months whilst the project's running, where the academic team, the company, the graduate, and us coming in as representing Innovate UK meet. We have a structure to those meetings where we look at progress in the project. You know, we look at, you know, any kind of challenges or issues that might be coming up. And, you know, if there are any problems or things aren't working as well as they could, we try to tease those out and find solutions. Let's say some projects work really smoothly. Some run into problems maybe where they're not, perhaps, you know, the people aren't maybe used to working with each other, academics with the company with the academic team. But let's say we have a lot of experience in trying to help, you know, get around those problems. So yeah, the kind of structure that we have with those kind of regular meetings helps us to keep things on track.
And in terms of the application process, Joel, is it at specific times throughout the year, and can you have more than one project running at a time?
Yeah, absolutely. The limit at the minute is 4 projects running at any one time for a company. So I don't think we have any companies that are close to that here. I think we have some certainly that have successor projects. We have some that are running a couple of projects at a time, but the strict limit is 4. We have a close roughly every 2 to 3 months. So there's a competition close coming in the middle of April. I think the next one after that is July. So the regular closer projects, I think we've got 5 coming up over the next year.
Okay, and another question coming in, if I can put it to Amanda and Lorraine. Do graduates have to be unemployed, or can they be in employment?
No, they can't. The only rule that we have is they cannot be current employees of the host company. Otherwise, we recruit on the open market, and as long as they meet the criteria that we have established, and as the KTP project team, that's decided between you. So the company and the academic will work together to develop the job spec and look at the requirements of what's needed. And one thing that I would say, which is probably one of the most valuable things, is to look at the skill set in the company currently. And the idea is bringing in new skills to the business. So it's very important to focus on the graduate having those new skills, as opposed to being another person with similar skills in the business. So, you know, it's trying to broaden the company's skills and knowledge base.
And Vicky, in the application, there's a section that's dedicated to teasing out exactly who we want that graduate to look like. Do they have to have experience? What kind of qualifications suit what's required? And whether or not they have been working in a similar industry or not. As Joel said, the average age is 27. I think what's really important too is that a graduate's not regarded as something like a trainee or an internee or a placement student. So you do get a really good opportunity to define exactly what you want in the graduate in the application.
And have we had any KTPs that have been established in relation to strategic and practical e-commerce? Lorraine and Amanda, you can think of, or Joel, if you can think of any.
There certainly have been projects in that space.
Okay.
I think the key thing is that it needs to be something where you need access to academic capability and expertise. So it was something fairly straightforward in terms of developing an e-commerce platform or something like that you could make happen through working with another company or a consultant. Then that wouldn't fit with the scheme. But if you're trying to do something where you need access to that kind of academic capability or niche expertise, then yes, that could potentially fit. And the level of innovation that comes with the project, it doesn't need to be a world first every time, but it certainly needs to be something that's not common in your sector and something that's happened to move you to the leading edge of your sector. So provided it fits with that kind of leading edge innovation angle and there's a need for academic kind of input, then potentially it could fit.
And if I could turn to Hugh, and just in terms of the projects that you've had within the companies, what are the types of areas that have been covered by that? Has it involved IP, and if so, was there an issue? And Joel, you can come in the IP at the end as well, just in terms of if there's IP developed, who owns it?
Yeah, I mean, we had a number of different areas. So specifically areas of expertise we needed as a company to grow strategically. The current KTP we're running on at the moment is we wanted to bring in high stability do machine learning. And we see that as a very important part of our strategic goals in our business. And we work then, with Queen's to be able to transfer that knowledge and work through the medium of a student and bring that in-house. That project's come to an end in this June, and it's been very successful so far to date. And so, areas like machine learning, we did a project with UU about medical device usability in terms of upskilling ourselves about UX skills and the medical device usability. We've done projects about manufacturing of phosphor plates for X-ray imaging. So they're quite varied, but they're all very strategic to our business and key areas in terms of product development in hardware, software, or in terms of the wider knowledge base in the company. And all of those, we have been very successfully exploiting that knowledge, and all of the graduates that we've been involved with, we've subsequently employed and are working for the company currently still.
Good to hear. Joel, the IP bit specifically then?
So a specific requirement of a KTP is that you have an IP agreement in place before the project starts. So that's something that Innovate UK will put into the offer letter. So that agreement needs to exist between the company and the academic institution that you're working with. I can't say I've ever come across a project where IP has been an issue. You know, the clear expectation is that this is developed capability and IP for the company to exploit. The universities have their own kind of models and agreements that they work through, but maybe Lorraine and Amanda could maybe mention, you know, what their typical arrangements would be.
So at Ulster, we usually default the IP in most cases to the company. There have been just about a couple of incidences recently where we've negotiated at the start, on the outset of the project, an IP agreement that was off the normal standard, but all very, very, very satisfactorily done. So it's not really an issue. And we're just reviewing our IP document at the moment. Every 3 or 4 years, we review the document, you know, for KTP.
Yeah, it's a similar setup in Queen's. IP belongs to the company, and you know, if there's specific elements that need to be ironed out in more detail, then we're happy to do that. But in the main, you know, we know that's valuable to the business, and that's part of what you're actually getting, is this development of new IP, we hope.
Okay, great. And Joel, there's a query in just in terms of KTP, and is it available to pre-startups? And are scientific research projects available via KTP?
So there needs to be a company applying for the KTP, so it's not available at a pre-startup stage, but we do have early stage companies that apply. The key kind of thing, you know, it has to be a project that at the end of the period of the project, which is, you know, 2-3 years, that, you know, something that's ready to, you know, take the market. So it's not really for early stage kind of research that's a bit more open-ended in terms of where the project's going to go. It has to deliver that. It has to be that plan to deliver a commercial outcome following the project. Early stage companies have applied and been successful if they're, you know, if they're not trading and they don't have the, you know, profitable accounts with a, you know, strong balance sheet and so on. As I say, we can talk to the company and see if that's something that we can present, that, you know, there isn't a risk around the finances and the company has access to finance to deliver the project and, you know, exploit the outcomes of the project. So I wouldn't exclude early stage companies. Talk to us and we'll see if we can make a case or not. But you know, there certainly needs to be a company in place.
Okay, and we've a question from Summer, who's actually with Invest-NI in China, and she's interested in just in terms of international student uptake in relation to KTP, and I'm assuming we've had a broad range of students from multiple countries. So, Lorraine and Amanda, if you just want to give a little insight.
Yeah,
Well, sorry, Lorraine. Go on, you go on first. I was going to say Lorraine's done more of this than we have at Ulster.
We recruit in the open market, so anyone who's appropriately qualified can apply. The university is the employer of the graduates, so we provide the certificate of sponsorship for an international candidate, and we have had terrific associates who have come from all corners of the globe to come and work in companies in Northern Ireland, and it's really valuable to get that international perspective in a lot of cases. So yes, we're happy to employ anybody that's suitably qualified and gets, you know, as the best candidate at interview.
And the
job. I was just going to say, yeah, we employed a graduate from came from Brazil. He actually had to fly over from Brazil for his interview. And although he was returning Northern Ireland person, he originally was born in Northern Ireland, and we also had a Polish candidate. The only thing criteria I understand is that they have to be able to get a work permit in the UK, and just with the current changes to work permit, that's the only issue that you have to address. And we want to take the best candidate. It's really the content of the character that you really want to focus on, not where they're from.
And I was just going to say, my experience of international candidates has only gone back about 3 years, but they've been amazing. And our HR office has done a great job in helping with the visas. Joel, we had a particular challenge last year with one of our candidates starting in COVID because she was held up in Iran, and it was a bit of, you know, toing and froing with it, but there's a lot of help in the universities to get the associates in, and they work out really well.
And Joel, what would be the average length of time from conception to actually having an associate in place?
So to shape up the application takes a wee bit of time, because it's not the case of just writing an application form and submitting it. That part of that process is working with the academic team to really help everyone understand what the project is and what everyone needs to deliver to make it work. So, typically you might spend 4 weeks or whatever, working up an application. Once it's actually submitted, they're assessed and turned around, and you usually would get your letter of offer in around about 8 weeks, sort of 8-9 weeks from the point of submission. And then you basically go ahead and recruit. And because we're open to recruitment, you need to leave yourself open to recruitment from anywhere in the world. Basically, the ads need to sit out for, I think it's 4 weeks. So you've got 8 to 10 weeks for the assessment to get your grant offer letter, and then basically the time that it takes to recruit someone. So 4 weeks with the ad out, and then interviews and appointing someone. So it varies. And again, Lorraine and Amanda will have more experience of that than me, but it's probably going to be in the 4 months, 6 months, just depending on circumstances.
I would say.
Yeah, thereabouts. Sorry if this has already been mentioned, but just to reinforce the view that it's a joint recruitment process. So the university employs a person, but the company has complete input and final say on the candidate that's appointed. So it's never the case that you're just told, here's your person, off you go. It's very much a company decision on who takes on the role at the end of it.
Just on that, Hugh, if I can come to you, you said you want to get the best person for the job. What have you found in terms of interest and caliber of applicants coming through for KTPs?
Yeah, no, the KTP program, I think it must be very well developed in social media, because we did get very good quality candidates come through the application process. And I mean, I think Lorraine and Amanda, whatever connections they have, we've always been delighted with the quality of the CVs we get to assess, and it's always been a joy to recruit people that you find really good candidates come through the system. So that's been very, very good.
Okay, and we've just got a double back in terms of the question that there was about the pre-startup. And it's just that if there's already been innovation vouchers and development has already taken place, could a pre-start apply?
I can probably pick that up one. There needs to be a company. Typically, I suppose the rule with the KTP, or the underlying thing, is that it's typically a company that's been trading for a couple of years, and it's got that size of 4 more employees, and it's got, it's trading profitably, and it's a good balance sheet. So deviations from that do happen. But a brand new startup, I think, would be difficult, and certainly pre-startup wouldn't work. So you're looking for a company that's formed and is settled and knows what it's doing. It's formed a team, and this is something that's coming in to help it, get a new thing across the line. So early stage companies, yes, but brand new would be difficult, and pre-startup wouldn't fit.
Okay, thanks, Joel. And if I could just pick up with we'll go with Lorraine first, and then Amanda. We've talked about the caliber of the candidate coming through. How do you make sure you get the right academic team involved in the projects?
The first thing is, we look to see if the company already has an existing relationship with an academic. Perhaps they may have spoken at an event or something, or already been in touch. And if that's the case, then that's great. We'll move ahead. But we will have some conversations with the company to try and establish what the knowledge is that they need. And then from that, Amanda and I would go away back to our institutions and hopefully find the right academic. And we don't just rush in with an application straight away. We do have a little bit of time to let people bond together and discuss the problems, and then we build the application. And it's the application build that actually creates the partnership. Once people get talking and there's a little bit of understanding then about what the company's problems are, the academics might have different solutions than expected. So it's that interaction and that engagement that really builds the partnership between the two.
Yeah, I agree with Lorraine. It evolves. I usually set up a couple of scoping meetings, and sometimes depends on the discipline of the subject or the knowledge area, but you could have quite a large team all brainstorming around a table with the company until we really get into the nitty-gritty of what they need. And then you'll find I could start off, particularly in AI and computer science areas, I could start off with quite a big team that whittles down, and we try and define 3 good academics or 2 academics. But very often our academic team like to involve the younger researchers in the project, although that's not on paper, but it just depends. But the exciting bit is really scoping it out and sitting in on the scoping to hear how it's evolving. And then you see the project coming together. And then you bring in the advisor, we talk it through again. And by the time we've talked it through with the advisor, we get the green light then to go ahead with the submission.
Okay, great. And Hugh, you can just pick up a question that's come through. The graduate's employed by the academic institution, but to all intents and purposes, they behave like an employee of the company. So in terms of holidays and things like that, it's arranged with the company. They don't follow the academic procedures.
Yeah, we have the KTP student would be very much embedded in the company, although their employment contract is with the university. They come in, they fill in timesheets, they work to the hours of the company, they work and fill in those timesheets. They work with the program in terms of, you know, to our rules and procedures, and very much, you know, and they take holidays as agreed with you know, in the KTP program you have a company, you know, sort of supervisor as well as an academic supervisor, and they would agree mutually sign off on holidays for the individual when that suits in terms of the work and the transfer work. So they're sort of very embedded in the company, although they are effectively and legally employed by the university during the KTP period.
And just in terms of that academic presence, Hugh, I mean, what value do you think that brings to the whole partnership?
Oh, I mean, it's huge value. I mean, that's really what that's what the soul of the KTP is about. It's about transferring that knowledge from those academics into your specific business situation to give you commercial success and provide you with competitive edge. And you know, sometimes, like say, it's a bit of an opener for the academic to see, you know, in a practical sense about how they can really make a difference in what they do, but also for the business. I mean, you know, for certain skills that we're looking to develop, they can see how their skills can relate. So it's a very much it's a very, you know, it's core to the whole central thing. The candidate acts, or the student acts as a medium, and allows us then after the program to be able to embed those skills and keep those skills within the company, which is, you know, a very fundamental feature of this, and it's a very big value add for the whole program. But it's really that knowledge that starts with the academics, and we would have initiated a lot of the academics. We would have been looking at papers, looking at, you know, areas of strategic interest for our business, identifying, you know, where in the local universities that would have some knowledge that would help support us, reaching out to them, and it's really from there that we would have then sort of said, well, can we do this with a KTP program and put the KTP in place? So it's been proactive in that. I think it's important for the businesses and for the companies to think about.
This may be too specific, and you may need a follow-up conversation, Joel, with the person asking this, but they have an interest in developing a training program that is accredited and awards a qualification. Is that something that could potentially fit into a KTP?
Without knowing a little bit more about it, it's difficult to say, but again, if it's still the kind of test that I mentioned earlier, you know, it has to be something that's innovative and leading edge. So, you know, putting together a program that's, you know, I suppose that other people are doing or trying to compete with other people with a similar kind of offering wouldn't fit. So there needs to be something kind of innovative in it, and there needs to be a need to access, I suppose, leading edge, you know, academic capability to make that happen. So, you know, delivering a program through conventional means and just accessing trainers in the university or people that can provide content wouldn't really be, I think, innovative enough, or wouldn't be the kind of thing we're looking at. But if you're looking at trying to deliver something in an innovative way, you know, or trying to use maybe some kind of innovative metrics around, you know, trying to or mechanisms to try and engage people, then that kind of thing might fit. But it's probably one that's best talked through with the company in question.
Okay, and certainly your details are on the screen. We'll be putting them up again, so that can be picked up. A question just in terms of an international market requirement. So if they need to send a KTP candidate on a temp secondment to an international market to research a particular opportunity need, is that something which is feasible under the operations, Joel?
So I'll try and answer. That's an interesting one, and Lorraine and Amanda might jump in if they have any experience of this, but A secondment, probably not, because the idea is to transfer knowledge from the academic team into the company. So if they're off in another business, somewhere else, they're not doing that, and it would be difficult to see how that would, deliver an innovation project in a company. There's certainly be nothing wrong with them spending, a short amount of time in another company to see, maybe understand what a customer needs or something like that, or to understand, a bit more about the market. But that would be a short-term thing, not a secondment as such. I'm not sure if Lorraine or Amanda have any experience of anything similar. They could comment.
No, not as an official secondment. We've had some, projects where a company might have had another office in a different country, perhaps, and they've maybe gone there to learn a particular aspect of the business, maybe. But it would be very clearly defined, and again, then would have had to plan that and think about who would supervise the person while they were away, and what about things like subsistence. There may be issues around visas, and if you've got an international candidate, so it's something that would need to be planned carefully. But generally, and Joel, you can jump in if I'm saying anything out of line, but if it's for the benefit of the project and will help it develop, and we can all see the clear need to do it, we'll try our best to make those things happen.
Yeah, I think every case can be sort of a little bit unique, and if it fits with the general ethos of what we're trying to do, we'll try and work with it. But I suppose the idea of just seconding someone to another business for 3 months or 6 months, I think would be tricky. But something short term that helps to deliver the project in the business, then possibly.
Okay, that's great. Thanks for that. We're approaching the end of the webinar, so I'd just like to say thanks to Joel, Lorraine, Amanda, and Hugh for their insights into KTP. I would say that if you are interested, you've got the contact details of Nicola on the screen. You already saw the contact details for the KTN guys, so please make sure that you do follow up if you think this is something that would be of relevance for you. And thank you all for your attention. Thank you.